which says they need over 480,000 blood units. Apparently, Uganda is lacking blood because of the so many disasters that have hit the country and left many people in need of blood. However, many people are not donating blood. So the big question to you this morning is, when is the last time you did your civic duty to donate blood? You see, blood donation sounds like something that is very minor until at a point when you need it. So when you're healthy and you're in charge of your life, you should be able to donate blood. But I'll ask a question to the team. I'll start with you, Robert. Good morning.
A lovely morning to you.
When is the last time you donated blood?
Every end of year I donate blood. For the last 6 years I've done that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have a number of, even a book, you know, when you become a regular donor. But I learned it from a colleague, that is Felix Nkunda. One time we did a show and see we had this crisis. And when I went with Felix Nkunda, I told him, let's go and donate, let's give back. When I went to Nakasero Blood Bank, we went in his car, I noticed that Felix had donated 16 times blood. So from that day, I picked it on from Felix Nkunda.
And you donated blood?
Every year.
But how are you?
I'm very fine. What green are you putting on?
Let's ask Chantal. Good morning, Olive.
Now,
good morning.
You've done me danger. That one is very, for the time I've been around in the life of Chantal, I've learned one thing. If she ever becomes a politician, Ugandans save our nation, never give that lady a vote. Wait for her answer.
I can't believe I've been decampaigned.
Your rebuttal to that.
I can't believe I've been decampaigned before I even declare intention.
Why is that?
I
Where
don't
is Robert
understand.
coming from?
I didn't understand where Robert is coming from, but the color you're wearing is emerald green.
Emerald green. You see? Even I didn't know. I didn't
now
know
to the electorate in which village? Tell them to pronounce such things.
But you see, Robert, at the end of the day, it's your word against mine. My reputation, if it were to be politics, my reputation would precede me.
Okay. And one would wonder, would that be good or bad reputation? Because either can precede you.
No, it precedes me in a good way. That's why I said it's his word against mine.
What? Green?
Emerald green. Now, the gentleman who went to Jinja, where Chira Motors was launching the first e-mobility expo, I saw him having a blast on the should I call it the e-bike or the electric bike? Good morning, Gerald.
Good morning to you and good morning to our dear viewer. Yes, you've mentioned something about the e-mobility expo that was held in Jinja on Friday, and it was a wonderful experience because of the vehicles that were on display, the motorbikes that were on display, the number of suppliers who were on display, and then there was also something else on display. But it was a good time in Jinja.
We are interested in that.
It was a very good experience in Jinja, trust me, and I will definitely pay some good money if I am told to go back today.
Okay.
I will definitely go.
My question though is, did you ever get to ask about the designers of the shapes of the cars that we are doing as Uganda? Just an innocent question.
Well, I got the chance to sit into the cars that we first made. Remember there was the first Kira EV?
Yes, yes.
And there is only a few changes. Okay. But the biggest design is with the coaches and you know, the coaches that we are having and the buses. Those ones pretty much have good design, and they've designed them to meet the standards.
What do you mean?
I've not mentioned good or bad design. I just asked about the design.
The design. No, it is now appealing though, because when you look back at and this is from my observation, when you look at the very first
Kira
EVs. Yes. Their interior designs weren't appealing to the eyes.
First, leave the interior. I'm talking about the shape, especially the first look at the car.
For the coaches, it's now okay. It's really okay.
My issue is not the coaches.
Okay,
but
Chantal,
I
speak
warned you
now or
earlier.
forever hold your peace. What's wrong with that? Oh, what's the issue with the way, the shape
No,
of
I'm
the
trying
vehicles?
I'm trying to understand the mind of the artist that put together the shape of there's one that you showed. I'm trying to understand the mind of the artist, because there is usually intentionality when someone is creating a certain shape and design, and that's what I'm trying to. I'm just innocently trying to get into the mind of the creative.
Great choice of words, and I'm starting to believe, Robert, you're such a politician. But anyway, as Chantal thinks about whether or not she will be standing or trying to. But by the way, Chantal, let me ask you, just for a minute, would you consider to, lead a certain constituency in Western Uganda, in as much as you didn't tell us what it's called? Would you consider? Because we need people like you.
I can neither deny nor confirm that the intention might or might not be there.
You're already sounding like a politician.
I told you my observation that she would be a mess to a constituency.
That you would be amazed. So anyway, we had the launch of a stadium in Bukedea. Jerome Paul, what do you know about that?
Well, there are East African games that are taking place, and they're being hosted by the Bukedea Comprehensive School. That is, of course, the host of this year's East African Games for the teams that competed on the national level. That is the former Copa Coca-Cola competitions here in Uganda. But well, of course, Bukedea is not only hosting that for the football, they are hosting quite a number of competitions, but for East African schools that are taking part in the same. And at the same time, the Speaker to Parliament was officiating, or she welcomed the President to the region, and further welcoming the President to the school to officially open and hand over this stadium and sports complex to all the schools that are taking part in the competition. And well, it is a step in the right direction when it comes to schools engaging in sports and trying to build up such facilities. However much some of the Ugandans are still critiquing some of the facilities and how they look like. But well, you get to realize that not so many schools have a couple of facilities in the same area, and that is one thing that you have to give kudos to the Bukedea Comprehensive School there.
Oh wow, that's amazing. I remember back in the day when we would go for school competitions, sports competitions, the facilities were always something that left a lot to be desired. So do you believe that this is a walk in the right direction, and that probably most schools could actually emulate and come up with facilities of the same?
Well, it's a step in the right direction, I must say, because remember, we don't have so many sports facilities, and I've seen, for example, the one at St. Mary's Chitende, that sometimes we even use these stadiums, not
for
only the schools,
yes,
for other opportunities, and to develop talent. We need quality facilities, not to hear that these boys didn't play very well because they are used to grass and now it was tough and all that. So it's a step in the right direction, because it does not only benefit the school, but also we use these facilities for other sports activities, and not even especially for schools. The only challenge, I think, though, is these are very expensive facilities to put up.
That's right.
Not every school can afford to put up such a facility. It's very expensive, I must say.
I hear you on that. Well, with that, we now launch into the news for the morning, and we'll start with our local news, where Travel Robert Nyonyintono will be taking us through the first story.
And we'll begin with President Yoweri Museveni, who stressed the importance of mass line, a principle that has guided the NRM since its inception. He highlighted how the NRM has historically prioritized the needs and rights of masses over those of the elite, ensuring that the voices of Ugandans are heard and addressed. President Museveni recounted the party's long-standing commitment to inclusive policies such as immunization for all, education for all, prosperity for all, and security for all. On education, the president expressed serious concerns over the actions of head teachers in government-aided schools who are allegedly undermining the country's free education scheme by imposing unauthorized fees on learners. President Museveni emphasized the government's commitment to providing free education for all as means of uplifting the nation through universal primary education, UPE, and universal secondary education, USE. President Museveni also addressed the growing problem of corruption within public service, highlighting that civil servants, including permanent secretaries and chief administrative officers, have abandoned their duties, further neglecting the masses. He expressed concern over land rights violation, emphasizing the need for elected leaders to protect their constituencies' rights, particularly against unlawful evictions.
Now, moving on, the president of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has mourned the demise of fallen presidential advisor Joseph Tamale Mirundi, who died at Kisubi Hospital at the age of 60. President Museveni said in the political organization, Tamale Mirundi was a cadre and acted like a priest because he internalized the ideology of the political organization and, most importantly, conveyed it to others. He said, therefore, Tamale Mirundi can be equated to a priest within the NRM party. He was able to articulate our four principles, which is anchored on patriotism, Pan-Africanism, socio-economic transformation, and democracy, end quote. The message was delivered by the Vice President Jessica Alupo during the burial of former Presidential Press Secretary Joseph Tamale Mirundi in Rakai District. She said, on behalf of government, the NRM party, and on his own behalf, the president extended heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family and the entire country, adding that, quote, Tamale Mirundi had become a household name because of his brave and truthful commentary on current affairs in the country and abroad, end quote. Museveni added that Tamale was a self-styled and independent-minded public intellectual who attracted a big following, especially on social media and in the mainstream media. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Now, Uganda Blood Transfusion Services is currently experiencing blood shortage due to increasing demand in the recent months due to disasters that have left many people hospitalized. 480,000 blood units are needed to avert the shortage in the country every year, but the change remains big. A few donors are willing to provide it. The National Blood Recruiter Officer at the Uganda Blood Transfusion Services, Duncan Rubazayo, noted declining donations of blood by Ugandans. He was speaking during the Pakistan blood donation at Free Eye Hospital in Tinda. The regional chairman, East African Overseas Pakistan Global Foundation Africa, Zahens Harshad, said that they have contributed to the health sector in this country to save lives. Pakistan Global Foundation Africa, Wadazar Fauzo, said that they are going to provide food relief to all needy people as part of the independence celebration.
And in other news, President Yoweri Museveni has asked religious leaders to unite against poverty and underdevelopment as some of the challenges faced by humanity in the country. Speaking at the closure of the 6th International Ecumenical Fellowship Conference in Bara District, the President urged the religious leaders to mobilize believers to work towards achieving decent standards of living. He told participants that poverty and underdevelopment affect all people, irrespective of their religion, and he was therefore happy that the various delegates attending the conference are committed to addressing common challenges faced by humanity. He thanked the Right Reverend Professor Fred Sheldon Mwesigwa, Bishop of Ankole Diocese and Chancellor of Bishop Stewart University, President Africa and all the organizers of the conference for convening an ecumenical gathering of distinguished delegates to discuss issues of development and socio-economic transformation. Well, that does it for our local news. Now we have more in international news with Chantal Olive.
Well, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in Israel in his latest effort to push for a ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza. His 9th trip to the region since the war began in October comes days after the U.S. presented a modified proposal aimed at bridging long-standing gaps between the two sides. The U.S. has expressed optimism about a deal since talks resumed in Doha last week, but according to Hamas, suggestions of progress are an illusion. Differences are said to include whether Israeli troops will be required to withdraw fully from the Gaza Strip, as Hamas insists. Mr. Blinken will attempt to maintain pressure on the Israeli leader when they meet today. He will say that now is the moment to drop any more attempts to squeeze out last concessions and take a deal. On the way here, one senior U.S. official was using phrases including a critical moment and an inflection point. The Americans hope they can get this over the finish line, perhaps as soon as this time next week. And away from that, social media giant X has announced it will shut its operations in Brazil following a legal tussle with a top Brazilian judge over the platform's rights and responsibilities to counter disinformation. The platform, previously known as Twitter, said on Saturday the shutdown was effective immediately, but the Brazilian users would still have access to X. "We are deeply saddened that we have been forced to make the decision," the company said, adding that the responsibility for the decision lies solely with Brazilian Supreme Court Judge Alexander de Moraes. The move is the apparent culmination of a continuing legal battle between Moraes, who has said he is trying to fight the spread of disinformation online, and Elon Musk, the billionaire owner of X. Earlier this year, Moraes ordered X to block certain accounts accused of spreading false news and hate messages, including some belonging to supporters of Brazil's former far-right president, Jair Bolsonaro. And lastly, Sudan has been stricken by a cholera outbreak that has killed nearly 24 people and sickened hundreds more in recent weeks, health authorities said. Health Minister Haitham Mohamed Ibrahim said in a statement yesterday that at least 22 people have died from the disease and at least 354 confirmed cases of cholera have been detected across the war-torn country in recent weeks. On Saturday, he declared a cholera epidemic in Sudan and noted that the outbreak was because of the weather conditions and because drinking water has been contaminated. He said the decision was taken in conjunction with authorities in the eastern state of Kassala, United Nations agencies and experts after the discovery of the public health laboratory of the cholera virus. An official from the World Health Organization, Margaret Harris, said in a media call on Friday that 11,327 cholera cases with 316 deaths had been reported in Sudan so far. "We expect to have more than has been reported," she added. And that leads us to the end of our international stories this morning.
Well, thank you, Chantal Olive. Now, I hope this very morning, before Jerome Paul takes us through the press review, that you are very demure and very mindful that you're ready to go to work, and that how you show up, let's say for an interview, is how you will show up at the job. Don't show up like Meryl Streep in The Devil Wears Prada, and then you come back to work dressed like, let me find the word when we come back. Jerome Paul, what do you have for us?
Well, according to the New Vision, in the health perspective, they're warning you why it is very risky for you to eat street fruits. Now, read about that report in today's New Vision, because also taxation, URA halts collection of penalty fees. Then rationale behind suspension of 16 bills has been explained as government defers UNRWA and nuts mergers. Now, besides that, in health, why it is risky to eat street fruits again. Then President Museveni opens schools and opens the school sports contest, a pictorial of the president and the speaker to parliament in Bukedia over the weekend. Then minister speaks out on Achengi's expulsion from Canada. Now read about the expulsion and the deportation of a Ugandan ambassador. Then in the other perspective of the press review, we look at the Daily Monitor, ravages of hepatitis B. The pangas of a liver disease, a lethal yet often a forgotten disease, the silent killer manifested in A, B, C, D, and E variants is claiming a number of people, shattering the lives of Ugandans. This is at the backdrop of Uganda joining the rest of the world to mark the Hepatitis Month in May. And there's a detailed report about the prevalence levels in the country. Then in Chitezi, how to get out of waste management mess. The Daily Monitor highlights government is set to register 3 million youth ahead of polls. Then also healthy living, how you pay the price for poor waste management. Today in the Daily Monitor. Then President Museveni to East African countries, we are richer if we trade together. Words said during the opening of the sports complex at the Bukedia Comprehensive School. Now in the Daily Nation, why Ruto could replace Raila as Mount Kenya's boogeyman in 2027. Then uproar over status plan to salvage some provisions of shelved finance bill 2024. Then in the Daily Nation, stall reforms plug schools into confusion. Concern 11 bills were drafted, but they have never been presented to cabinet. As Ojinde's fate as EACC boss now in president's hands. Then tragedy, till death do us part? No, says man as he weds dead partner. Interesting report. Then girl with a passion for fashion is he's highlighted in here in the Daily Nation as well. And well, that does it for our press review this Monday.
Thank you, Joram. And as you can see, Joram Paul every single day shows up very demure, very mindful. We'll take a short break and we'll leave you with Estanyo Dagala by Irene Ntale. Now, when we come back, Kampala faces a garbage crisis as alternative sites are being rejected. We'll delve into that conversation when we come back. So please stick around because it's going to be very informative.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Njakira mu bulamu anti onjigiriza okwagala okutalimu kukakambira chimpo.
The stadium in Bukedia that has sparked a lot of conversation, especially on social media apps like X. But also there is now concerning news from the Uganda Blood Transfusion Services, which says they need over 480,000 blood units. Apparently, Uganda is lacking blood because of the so many disasters that have hit the country and left many people in need of blood. However, many people are not donating blood. So the big question to you this morning is, when is the last time you did your civic duty to donate blood? You see, blood donation sounds like something that is very minor until at a point when you need it. So when you're healthy and you're in charge of your life, you should be able to donate blood. But I'll ask a question to the team. I'll start with you, Robert. Good morning.
A lovely morning to you.
When is the last time you donated blood?
Every end of year I donate blood. For the last 6 years I've done that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have a number of, even a book, you know, when you become a regular donor. But I learned it from a colleague, that is Felix Nkunda. One time we did a show until we had this crisis. And when I went with Felix Nkunda, I told him, let's go and donate, let's give back. When I went to Nakasero Blood Bank, went in his car, I noticed that Felix...
The stadium in Bukedea, that has sparked a lot of conversation, especially on social media apps like X. But also, there is now concerning news from the Uganda Blood Transfusion Services, which says they need over 480,000 blood units. Apparently, Uganda is lacking blood because of the so many disasters that have hit the country and left many people in need of blood. However, many people are not donating blood. So the big question to you this morning is, when is the last time you did your civic duty to donate blood? You see, blood donation sounds like something that is very minor until at a point when you need it. So when you're healthy and you're in charge of your life, you should be able to donate blood. But I'll ask a question to the team. I'll start with you, Robert. Good morning.
A lovely morning to you.
When is the last time you donated blood?
Every end of year, I donate blood. For the last 6 years, I've done that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have a number of, even a book, you know, when you become a regular donor. But I learned it from a colleague, that is Felix in Kunda. One time we did a show and we had this crisis. And when I went with Felix in Kunda, I told him, let's go and donate, let's give back. When I went to Nakasero Blood Bank, went in his car, I noticed that Felix had donated 16 times blood. So from that day, I picked it on from Felix in Kunda.
And you donated blood?
Every year.
But how are you?
I'm very fine. What green are you putting on?
Let's ask Chantal. Good morning, Olive.
Now,
good morning.
You've done me danger. That one is very, for the time I've been around in the life of Chantal, I've learned one thing. If she ever becomes a politician, Ugandans save our nation, never give that lady a vote. Wait for her answer.
I can't believe I've been decampaigned.
Your rebuttal to that.
I can't believe I've been decampaigned before I even declare intention.
Why is that?
I
Where
don't
is Robert
understand.
coming from?
I didn't understand where Robert is coming from, but the color you're wearing is emerald green.
Emerald green. You see? Even I didn't know. I didn't
now
know
to the electorate in which village? Tell them to pronounce such things.
But you see, Robert, at the end of the day, it's your word against mine. My reputation, if it were to be politics, my reputation would precede me.
Okay. And one would wonder, would that be good or bad reputation? Because either can precede you.
No, it precedes me in a good way. That's why I said it's his word against mine.
Green?
Emerald green. Now, the gentleman who went to Jinja, where Chira Motors was launching the first e-mobility expo, I saw him having a blast on the should I call it the e-bike or the electric bike? Good morning, Gerald.
Good morning to you and good morning to our dear viewer. Yes, you've mentioned something about the e-mobility expo that was held in Jinja on Friday. And it was a wonderful experience, because of the vehicles that were on display, the motorbikes that were on display, the number of suppliers who were on display, and then there was also something else on display. But it was a good time in Jinja.
We are interested in that.
It was a very good experience in Jinja, trust me, and I will definitely pay some good money if I am told to go back today.
Okay.
I will definitely go.
My question though is, did you ever get to ask about the designers of the shapes of the cars that we are doing as Uganda? Just an innocent question.
Well, I got the chance to sit into the cars that we first made. Remember those the first Kira EV?
Yes, yes.
And there is only a few changes. Okay. But the biggest design is with the coaches and you know, the coaches that we are having and the buses. Those ones pretty much have good design, and they've designed them to meet the standards.
What do you mean by
I've not mentioned good or bad design. I just asked about the design.
The design. No, it is now appealing though, because when you look back at, and this is from my observation, when you look at the very first Kira EVs.
Yes.
The interior designs weren't appealing to the eyes.
First, leave the interior. I'm thinking about the shape, especially the first look at the car.
For the coaches, it's now okay. It's really okay.
My issue is not the coaches.
Okay,
but-
Chantal,
I
speak
warned you
now or
earlier.
forever hold your peace. What's wrong with that? Oh, what's the issue? Into the news for the morning, and we'll start. I did, and in a special way, welcome to Good Morning Uganda once again. It's a beautiful time. It's a great thing you do to start your morning with us. That is me, Olive Monica, Najima, Chirabo Robert Nyonyintono, and Jerome Paul Sonko plus Chantal Olive Akandinda. We don't take it for granted that you spare some time to start your day, especially your new week with us. Now, last week we were we saw a lot of headlines, but also footage of the incident that occurred at Chitezi site. Now, this is where the garbage collected from different parts of Kampala has been being taken to, and unfortunately, we had an incident that resulted into the death of many Ugandans and others injured, but also the loss of property. Now, it has left a big gap and a big question unanswered, because the question is, what will be the alternative areas where we will be disposing of garbage? And others are concerned that this might actually bring an expense onto, for instance, if you have been using trash collectors to take your garbage, now the prices could be higher. But the big question is, in as much as they might increase the prices for garbage collection, where is the garbage going? Because the reports we have coming in indicate that the alternative sites have been rejected. That's the conversation we're having this morning. So you can be part of us, and you can share your views through WhatsApp number 0709 602592. How can we as a country manage to dispose of garbage? How can we manage waste management in the country? Now, Robert, coming to you, this crisis in Chitezi has really showed certain gaps, especially when it comes to how Kampala Capital City Authority has been handling this. I have seen some letters. I don't know them to be true, but they seem stamped, where NEMA has warned Kampala Capital City Authority prior the incident that took lives, that this place needs to stop being used because it is now an impending disaster onto the lives of the people who live nearby, but also onto their health. Like, there was the danger of an accident and the danger of health, and now loss of property. And eventually this occurred. I don't know if this letter has been said to be true, but it's one of the allegations I've seen saying that KCCA knew about this disaster almost happening like in July. But now, moving on from that, can you describe the current state of garbage management in Kampala?
Well, one would say it is not pleasing at all. It's very unfortunate that we are at this stage, because first, garbage in Kampala has its history. And how KCCA and Kampala City Council were doing things. Now, previously, Kampala City Council would, in specific areas, have, what do I call them, sub-landfills, where people knew that we take our garbage to such a particular point. Then the lorries of KCCA, the garbage collectors, trucks would come and get rubbish from that place. Or sometimes cases would put a big can. You've been around for some time. You must have seen these things.
Yes, I did, but I remember that even then,
where you would get rubbish, and this whole garbage tin that could be loaded onto the KCCA truck. Yes. They would position it somewhere and have someone manning it. And I know a number of our viewers have seen this. I would excuse Sonko.
And they still exist in some areas of Kampala.
In some areas, but that was Kampala City Council. That's how they used to do it. And sometimes there were people in local communities who would come get your garbage and then take it to...
Sebo,
you were around.
I was around.
Okay, now that we have that out of the way, Joram was around.
This is Gen Zs. So now that was a phase, and still they would take it to Chitezi.
That phase also had its problems.
Had
I'm
its
sure that
problems.
there is a reason why it was phased out.
Well, to be more honest, it was more of economic reasons. You know the problem we have with Ugandans? We are not honest to ourselves. Even when this Chitezi issue has happened, people are speaking, oh, this was warned, but they are not looking at the business that was in Chitezi and why it could have been one of the reasons that KCCA may, I want to say this, not have prioritized. I visited Chitezi about 3 times. But the business that has been in Chitezi, the business itself in this garbage, has been a hindrance to proper thinking because of conflict of interest. Okay. If anyone had gone to Chitezi, these ones are collecting this, the other ones are doing, these are doing that. That is one point we are not speaking out as the truth and clinging on this and that. But people who are benefiting from the location of Chitezi and how they had shaped business there would not see a Chitezi close.
So now that we had the accident, the crisis now we are facing is garbage disposal. How has the collapse of the Chitezi landfill affected garbage disposal in the country? In the country, there is the country, but then there is Kampala. If we can bring it down to Kampala or Kampala neighboring areas, how has this collapse affected garbage disposal?
Well, it has affected it in a way that now they don't have a proper destination for the garbage collected.
Yes.
Because remember, much as KCC has trucks that collect, but these trucks usually go to ghettos, but it tendered. And I have a problem with this. KCCA tendered garbage collection. That is why you see trucks of domestic waste, bins, home clean. These are private people.
But you see, Robert, you already mentioned that there was a problem of finances. So tendering, wasn't that a solution to the financial bit that KCCA was grappling with?
Now, that tendering, just that's not the topic of the day, but that tendering brought a lot of challenges and problems.
Okay.
It brought, that's why I said this garbage story, we are not being honest to ourselves. There is some economic link that we are moving away. We are talking about lack of money, but there is a lot of business in Kasasiro that we are not being honest in this whole Chitezi saga as discussing it. Now, the problem it has created that when they finally collect this garbage, they don't have where to put it. The Nkumba placed landfill they had gotten has a challenge. It is far.
Okay.
So they will tell you they are making more. A person has been, a truck that has been able to do previously 3 rounds. Yes. Now it can only do 1 because of the distance or 2.
And fuel costs.
And fuel costs. Then also each truck is, I'm told, is being charged 20,000 per dumping there. So some trucks are choosing, some tender companies, some companies are rather choosing to now go to vital areas or not to collect as they were collecting because of the challenge of distance, fuel, and money required to pay. So that's why now when you pass via Nakasero, you will see people are stuck with garbage. When you go to some of the collection centers, because they have been getting this garbage from people's homes, then they put it somewhere and load it on trucks. Because when you look at most of these trucks, they'll have a truck, but they are boys that go to people's homes and collect, then put a particular area where the truck comes. Now, these areas are all filled with garbage because these trucks are not picking this garbage from where the young boys, the boys are still either removing it from people's homes and packing it there, or also not even picking it there. When you go to public places, they are not getting it. So we are in a situation where even diseases are likely to break up. I remember.
Yes, Chantal.
In regards to the history of waste management, or even let's call it garbage in our country. Now, KCC itself, according to some reports, we had a landfill That was that we had in Perere. We also had Lueza and Lubiji. Do we even know what is happening at these landfills? And also, are they also a ticking time bomb for us as a country?
Well, most of these landfills that you've talked about, some, it was private land with a contract of KCCA. Like I think the Reza thing. Now, at a particular time T, this came to an end. Right. That's what I'm saying. I've used you for this time. Communities are complaining. You know, I think we better end it here. Okay. And this land has been reclaimed. Is it reclaimed? The alternative activities have taken part of this. So these are challenges. But also, these were not. You see, it had segmented. Like you would say, maybe matching. Yeah, this is where you take. But the Chitezi was for every division in Kampala. And I think
now, Robert, I'll get back to you. I would like to go to Studio B and loop Chantal Olive into this conversation. Now, Chantal, we have seen the problem and the disaster that has occurred in the country, and also the question you asked Robert of are these other areas a ticking time bomb? When you look at different parts of the country, different cities, let's say a case in point, Jinja City, they are also grappling with waste management. So you get to realize that in as much as this has happened in Chitezi, other parts of the country are still having the same problem. So could this be a start to something that could become more disastrous in the rest of the country? But that's not the question for you. This is a question for all of us to ponder on. But Chantal, I would like for us to look at solutions. If this problem is not only in Kampala City, but a problem that is being grappled with by other cities, then we need to look at solutions. And one would wonder what immediate measures can be taken to address the garbage crisis in Kampala, but also in other cities in the country.
To be honest, Olive, one of the first immediate solutions, if we're to use the word immediate, is landfills, to be honest. But now the problem is that when you look at the structure of our landfills, even the problem with Chitezi, you find that there were layers of plastic, and then some of the waste that could actually decompose. So because plastic does not decompose, it creates layers that create cracks and make it easy for it to overrun, and that is partly why we saw that challenge. So in this case, much as landfills are some of the immediate solutions, we need to get deep into recycling, and there is a part of recycling that we need to get into. The companies that are using plastics, for example, they should be, according to even the Constitution, they should be charged with making sure that they recycle the plastics, that they take them back and reuse them. So we need to now get into the habit of recycling, the habit of reusing, and also reducing the plastics that we use. That would be the other solution that we look at. Then also you're going to have to look at waste segregation. And I believe that is also another immediate method we can use to manage this crisis. And when it comes to segregation, that means that we have plastics somewhere, we have those that can decompose somewhere, we have maybe glass put somewhere, so that we know that we either for this plastic we can reuse, or we can incinerate, or we can burn. And then if it's waste that can decompose, then we know where to put it. I think that is the waste that should be going to landfills, because now it gets to decompose and we don't get some of these issues. So I believe we would be looking at things like landfills, coupled with waste segregation, and then coupled with reducing and recycling of the plastics that we choose to use. Then also talk about using waste to generate energy. That is in terms of biogas, that is in terms of, what are these things called?
Briquettes.
Briquettes, thank you very much, Sonko. Briquettes, so that we reduce on how much waste we leave out there and put it to use to enable us live in a better environment. Then you're also going to look at things like incineration.
What is
worst
incineration?
Case scenario? Incineration, it's literally burning.
Okay.
Worst case scenario. Much as it has an impact on the environment and all, it goes back down to if we reduce the waste that we have to incinerate, that means you're also reducing the effect it would be having, that would be having on the environment. Then talk about avoiding things like electric waste. Talk about some of the things that we look at as waste can also be used to do. For example, the people who throw away clothes, but some of those clothes can be donated. Some of them can be even turned into something else. You have seen people who use old clothes to make, for example, rugs or doormats or something. You've seen people who use straws, for example, to use, to make table mats and stuff like that. So we can reuse some of this waste to be able to create products or items that are not going to affect the environment going forward. So those are some of the things that I could put in place or suggest as some of the solutions to employ to get rid of this crisis.
I've been going through a certain report here, and this report is highlighting some of the reasons as to why we are in such a situation. And when it comes to we as the people living in these areas failing to manage the waste on our side, this report highlights a very critical point, that there is no incentive for the public to manage the waste better. Incentive in a sense that many of the people who are willing to, let's say, recycle or open up for recycling and try to give out their plastics, the straws, and then, let's say, the polythene to give to the companies that are doing the recycling, because now recycling is picking up in most of the areas in Uganda, is that many of these companies tend, to exploit. And let's say a household owner feels that they are not getting as much as they want. Now, many of the Ugandans today who are doing this waste management on their own feel they need to be paid.
Oh.
Because remember, with these companies, every time a company comes to pick your rubbish,
you're paying.
You're supposed to pay.
Yes.
Now, if it is like that, they've also come to realize that these recycling companies are paying the money. And when a recycling company seems to come on ground, they want you to pay instead of them paying you for the money. Now, instead of them paying you for the rubbish, or let's say some
so
of
what
these,
you're saying, Ugandans don't see the need to go
Exactly.
through the labor of separating rubbish, like
and
take out
it's
the
something that we
plastic,
need
because
to work with.
They feel like there is no return on investment. The investment here being time.
Because remember, there are certain things that you can also sell out to a farmer. Let's say some of the banana peelings and let's say, for example, spoiled food you can sell to someone who's doing piggery, for example.
But
now many of the Ugandans keep everything
Sonko,
in the same trash can.
If you're living in Kampala and in our gated neighborhoods for the most part, where are you going to find the people you can sell these things to?
No, the chances are high you can, because
Look
remember, these companies look for you also when they are looking for the rubbish.
Yes, look at the companies that collect waste from our homes. I believe, actually, let's get to that point. If these companies provided collection, can I call them collection?
Collection centers, maybe.
Maybe not collection centers, but
or like a scrap place where people normally
but also,
take their scrap.
If I bring a dustbin and I put it there in the gate, and that dustbin has a way of segregating this waste. For example, if you've noticed in some cases, say some hospitals, you realize that they have these dustbins that will show you that here infectious waste goes here, pepper or pepper goes here, or polythene goes here, or food goes here. You get it? So if we can start from that point where we know that we have these companies that are collecting waste from our homes. Now that is because private works with government. Some of these private companies that come to our homes are working directly with KCCA because they have to know where to dump this waste. So how about it starts from that point? If a company should work with KCCA.
Chantal, that sounds like a very good idea, but with any idea you have to look at the cost.
But besides that, Olive, just a moment,
Gerald. I don't know if my colleagues have noticed that the best garbage collecting companies are going to do is give you a polythene, where you're going to be putting a plastic bag, where you will be putting your garbage. They don't give you the dustbin. The dustbin is on you. So how many Ugandans are willing or can actually afford to buy the dustbin so that we can now separate the garbage? Because that would mean having more than one. I stand to be corrected. Yes, Jerome.
Mention is we've forgotten the bigger lion in the room here. You do realize Chantal has mentioned something, that one of the most sustainable solutions is a landfill. The Chitezi landfill had filled up to capacity by 2009. Now look at that time frame.
Right.
That is close to 15 years, and we didn't have any other place. We continuously dumped our garbage there. Now that puts the
Jerome,
authorities in KCCA
Jerome, it brings up another question.
on the spot.
Yes.
Did
That as
we
much as
not
we have the
have-
landfill, do
Jerome,
we really care
Did
about...
we, Jerome, did we fail to get another landfill, or we just became complacent
Same thing.
and didn't look for
I
land?
think it's the same thing.
No, it's not. There
Because
is failing
you do
and then
realize
there
some
is
of-
complacence. So which part? Yes?
Well, I think we did purchase land. That is around Mukono. I think it's called we bought land at a cost of about, I think, even 3 billion shillings. But now, when we bought this land that was going to replace Chitezi, one of the residents in that area went to court and sued KCCA that when they were purchasing that land, they never alerted communities that this was going to be
A landfill.
a landfill. And it is a residential area, therefore they could not allow in a residential area for people to begin, for garbage of that magnitude to be dumped there. And also the authorities in this area became a problem. They also bought into this idea, because I think it was business of KCCA and a person who owned the property. Now there were a number of assessment, and yesterday I saw the mayor of Kampala, Elias Lukwago, washing down all these excuses, saying yes, these people have refused, but these excuses do not hold water. Yeah, there could be a court issues here, but we have a problem. So KCCA did purchase land, but there were issues
But Olive and Jerome,
to handle that I think never came to a conclusion. And it hurts to note that it seems even now, maybe that land has been abandoned, and Elias Lukwago, the mayor, was saying, if there is any government land, we can take over, if there is someone willing to give us land or something like that. But I go back to what I said earlier, that these pinky ponkies, in this garbage thing, there is one fact we are not all bringing out.
And it is?
The business in this garbage.
But Robert, besides the business, I think this waste thing can be really manageable. Right from every municipality level, let's say local council level. This is something that can really be manageable. It is more like a
exactly,
household.
Jerome Paul,
How
how
manageable
exactly can
yes.
we manage garbage
How do we
disposal
manage?
at a local, basically from the grassroots? Household, local community, before
Yes.
it goes into the city.
Let me give a very good example. I don't know if you've noticed that in villages, the chances are very minimal for you to see garbage being misused anyhowly. There are some people who are making good use of garbage.
That's right.
I think,
and also, Stonko, the other thing you could look at in the village is that there is less usage of plastic.
yeah, that is very true.
but then
But
again-
here, if we are using the plastic, it is very easy to recycle because the plants are in the cities.
That's the point where I want to go to. The problem is not the landfill. The problem is not the different dumping sites. The problem is that we have failed to manage the waste. And how is waste what kind of waste management am I talking about? When you look at Chitezi, the problem is we mixed the waste. The waste that could decompose was mixed with what couldn't decompose. There is a lot of plastic and all that. So if we say we are doing waste management, what has been done so far is waste dumping, not waste management. Because how many centers do we have that actually, these are designated recycling centers where we know that this is where we take plastic if I am into the business of collecting garbage from people's homes? You get it? So the problem here may not be the landfill. The problem may not be the land that was purchased. The problem is we are failing to manage the waste itself. How are we disposing it off to ensure that the effects it could be having on the environment and the people in those environments is reduced.
And I want
Robert, just a moment. I would like to loop our dear viewer into this conversation. And you can reach us through WhatsApp number 0709-602-592. And the question we are asking today is for you to share your views on how we can improve waste management in the country. Share your views on ways through which we can manage waste. I beg your pardon. Share your views on how we can improve waste management in the country. The WhatsApp number is 0709-602-592. You can also send a direct text message. We'll be able to share it. And I have a comment from Cricket Derek Gagamel from Makindye Luafu, and he says, good morning, family. The primary solution starts with changing our attitude mainly towards our poor disposal. We still dump everywhere and block water channels. In fact, some fellows think rubbish has no gazetted place, and so with that, even responsible bodies are overwhelmed. Even the alternative places can be full to capacity, and again we face the same tragedy. So sensitization is needed to the locals to enhance their poor dumping system and recycling as well. That is from Cricket Derek Gagamel from Makindye Luafu. And I have another comment from Chiwalabye Timothy from Mukono, and he says, I'm deeply saddened by the recent tragedy where lives were lost due to unsafe landfills, and this highlights the urgent need for better waste management solutions in our cities and suburbs. He proposes that we start using soldiers, that is, I think he said black soldier fly larvae from sustainable waste management. This method efficiently processes organic waste, reducing landfill volume by up to 80%. And he says the larvae converts the waste into nutrient-rich compost and high-protein animal feed, benefiting urban agriculture and creating economic opportunities. He also says this scalable solution could significantly reduce the risk of landfill-related disasters, lower greenhouse gas emissions, and promote a circular economy. And he ends by saying, I believe this initiative could greatly improve waste management and prevent future tragedies. Now, Tata Sophia, a resident of Lusanja Farm Village, says, here where Garbage Hill known as Sogea Hill fell on my neighbors. My point is, it's not good for our government to plan shifting residents other than planning to get garbage out of residential areas. I'm just wondering about our leaders. The Lord Mayor Lukwago has fought tooth and nail to see that garbage is being shifted from residential areas. Guys, other people think about us. He basically says, think about us, the people living around. The smell can go as far as Chanja. Please, government, assist us and stop garbage sites like Chitezi. That is from Daddy Sophia in Lusanja. Well, thank you so much for your comments. And as we close this conversation, I'll let Jerome Paul give us his parting shots, and then Chantal will do the same.
Well, my parting shot will be the most worrying statistic I read as of last week was that Kampala is ranks 8th on the continent as the most polluted city, and the reason is simply because of what we, the kind of waste, and then also the kind of industries that we have, and the chemicals that they kind of release off in the air. The situation in Chitezi is really alarming, because if you happen to just step within Chitezi, the stink around the dump itself kind of makes it worse for you to remain in that area. Now, why am I bringing this statistic in play here? Is that waste management has lots of things that we need to look at critically as a country, that it's going to contribute to either a sustainable solution for the better, or if we fail at managing our waste, we will completely lose it. And we are here looking for solutions, let's say moving green and trying to find solutions that are sustainable to address climate change. One of them is trying to manage this waste.
Thank you, Joram. Chantal, in a few seconds, your parting shots.
My parting shot is that this is a waste management question, not an issue of waste itself. So if we can put our focus on how we manage our waste, then we would have started from a good point.
Thank you, Chantal. And Robert?
Let's turn this rubbish or garbage into money. Government should be intentional. We must stop dumping and find ways to turn this into electricity, anything commercial, recycling it. If we turn this garbage into money, it will disappear.
Well, thank you, Robert, for your views, and thank you, dear viewer, for being a part of this segment, Newsreel. We've been looking into alternative ways through which we can manage garbage disposal in the country. I'm Olive Monica Najaba. Now, Good Morning Uganda does continue as Irene Allen Namisango is coming right up next to give you the Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express updates.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah yo,
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable. Coming soon on UBC.
Welcome to Inside Broadcasting.
Sharing with you the process behind what you see on the screens.
My name is Lorraine Masika Kazimoto.
Step behind the scenes and witness the magic that brings your daily broadcasts to life.
That's why I come out openly to actually tell you that I'm an investigative journalist. That even when you see me here, I'm actually investigating you guys. So you should be aware about that.
Experience the hustle, the heart, and the human stories of our on and off-air staff.
I see my phone ringing and I'm like, ooh, which number is this? I hear the president on the other line.
The president of the Republic of Uganda.
Of Uganda, yes.
Be inspired, amazed, and part of the journey that powers Uganda's most captivating TV and radio moments.
Because good broadcast comes down to an individual. They should be artistic.
This is Inside Broadcasting.
Inside Broadcasting.
Inside Broadcasting with Mark Wadula.
Coming soon on UBC.
Bigirwa Kalisa Samuel is my name, Chief Administrative Officer, Kalio District Local Government. Kalio District currently runs a budget of 39 billion. So we basically implement central government funded projects and initiatives. There are a number of success stories we have registered over the past period, especially in health under UGIFT, that's the Uganda Intergovernmental Fiscal Transfers Project, where we built a 650 million health center 3 at Buyinda sub-county. It is a state-of-the-art project which is not likely to be elsewhere in the country. The other project we have to reckon with is the Bukamba City Secondary School, which we are going to commission very soon, costing about 1.9 billion Uganda shillings. And then we have also
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome to the GMU Tourism Express, your ultimate guide about all the wonders that make Uganda a very unique destination. My name is Erin Alena Misango, and here we dive deeper into everything unique that makes Uganda's tourism so unique, beautiful and amazing, from the unique culture experiences, beautiful attractions, adventure, travel news, everything that you need to know about Uganda's tourism and beyond. This is the perfect time for you to always tune in so that you get to know what is really happening in the world of travel in Uganda and the whole of East Africa. Well, going into the travel news today, yesterday was the Rolex Festival. It was yet another time when Ugandans come together to celebrate the Rolex. Remember, a Rolex in Uganda, we do not wear it, but we eat a Rolex in Uganda. It is a typically Ugandan food with rolled eggs, a rolled omelette within a chapati. So it is typically a Ugandan food where Ugandans, it is one of the common snacks, street foods where Ugandans enjoy almost maybe for breakfast. If you don't have it for breakfast, you definitely find it maybe in your lunch or dinner. Like, Ugandans have it so much, enjoy it so much, and it is delicious. It is something that you definitely need to try out. Such food festivals bring together Ugandans to celebrate the uniqueness of the foods that we have in the country, to see how do they prepare Rolex, how do you make this event from home, how do you enjoy this, the different Rolexes that you can prepare. You can do chicken Rolex, omelette Rolex, you can do a beef Rolex. Some time back I even used to see grasshopper Rolexes. So there are so many types of Rolexes that you can actually prepare, but in such festivals we come together to celebrate the various and diverse foods that we have in the country. However, I should say that somehow Ugandans have not so much embraced this festival yesterday when we looked at the numbers, because the numbers were not so high as we used to have them. Maybe there is a need to rethink this idea to make sure that it entices more people, because food festivals are very important in the tourism sector to promote the different foods that we have in the country. Because remember, food is almost number 2 or number 3 in the things that someone thinks about when they're traveling to a country, because you will definitely have food every time you have a trip to any destination. So food festivals is a way to go to promote gastronomy tourism in the country, and we need to embrace these in a more enticing way as Ugandans, so that we put out our nation to a better position. Well, still in the travel news today, we are just an event that is happening next week is the Mountain Rwenzori Marathon. So this Mountain Rwenzori Marathon is set to happen on the 24th of August, that is probably Friday, and this is promoting Uganda's sports tourism. You know, when you look at Uganda, Uganda is a natural beauty that has so many things endowed in this small scale that we have in the country, and you see that so many things we can use them to promote the country. Now when you look at Uganda, currently we are championing the Olympics. Like all the time we have Cheptegei coming in to get the golden medals. We have Nakai, we have so many champions that we have in the country in terms of running, athletics. And then if you're promoting Uganda's tourism in the sports angle, it is a good move. So the Rwenzori Marathon is promoting Uganda's sports tourism, but look at also the benefits that are going to come out of this marathon. People are going to, the local communities are going to earn, accommodation facilities are going to earn, transporters are going to earn. Like, we are going to see development, and we are going to see business really thriving onto the tourism sector with this marathon. So if you haven't gotten your kit, the kits are distributed in different areas around Kampala. You can check out on the Mountain Rwenzori Marathon X page, and you get all the information where to get your kit, how are you going to move, where are you going to sleep, so that together we put together all these small efforts and we promote Uganda's tourism and show that yes, it is the perfect destination for everyone who is dreaming of coming to explore Africa. They come to the Pearl of Africa. Well, that is it that we had for you in the travel news. And now going into the travel attractions, this is the segment that really excites me a lot, making sure that I get you to know all the amazing places that are there in the Pearl of Africa that you shouldn't miss. And today we are talking about the 5 most unique places that you shouldn't miss on any Ugandan safari. The first one is a Kampala State Tour. Now, these places that I'm going to mention out today are places that you're not going to find anywhere else if you go in any other country. Some of the things you can find them in other countries, but these ones, they're particularly in Uganda. Now, a Kampala City Tour is a tour that you can even take on maybe in 2 hours, half a day, or even a day. But there are so many amazing things that you can see around Kampala. And some of the things that you should definitely not miss out on a Kampala City Tour, there is Kasubi tombs, a lot of heritage lies in there. There is markets. Now for the markets, we have markets in Uganda where you're going to find everything from textile to fresh fruits. And when it gets to fresh fruits, with the weather that we have, the fertile soils that we have, you are sure that in Kampala you're going to get the most fresh fruits that you ever find in Africa. So when you come to Kampala, please don't miss out on a short tour to go to Gaddafi Mosque. So many things that I cannot mention, but make sure on your itinerary you have a short tour in Kampala City. Another place that you shouldn't miss out is, or an activity, is a boat cruise to the source of the Nile. Now the source of the Nile, you cannot find it anywhere else in Africa. Remember, River Nile is the longest river in Africa and one of the longest rivers in the whole world. So the source of the Nile, that exact part where the Nile River separated itself from Lake Victoria, it is found in Uganda. So that place, you cannot find it anywhere in the whole world. Remember, River Nile, so many countries are thriving on River Nile. When you look at countries like Ethiopia, Egypt, they've made several they've made several economic activities around River Nile. So come and see the source of so many lives in Africa. So it is found in Uganda. So a boat cruise to the source of the Nile, it is definitely something that you shouldn't miss out when you have a safari in Uganda. The next thing that you shouldn't miss out when you come to Uganda is Murchison Falls. Murchison Falls is the world's strongest waterfalls, and when you look at Murchison Falls, you know, there are so many falls around Africa. There are Victoria Falls, but Murchison Falls are the strongest waterfalls in the world. And when you see River Nile squeezing up in a 7-meter gorge, and it forms a permanent rainbow. This scene is spectacular that it never gets off your memory all the time. When you reach here and the falls are pouring out, they are raining out to you, you might even think that you're in a very rainy place because you come out of the place very wet. But the falls are very amazing. The sounds of the falls mixed with the birds, mixed with spectacular scenes of maybe crocodiles, buffaloes coming along River Nile, the banks of the Nile for drinking water. It is really a beautiful scene that you're not going to find anywhere else in the world, I'm telling you. So this is also another spot that you shouldn't miss on any trip to Uganda. Then the fourth place the fourth attraction are the gorillas of Bwindi, Impenetrable Forest National Park. Now Uganda is a home to more than half of the world's remaining mountain gorillas, and these gentle animals, oh my God, these gentle animals are very beautiful, are very gentle and very calm, and they are very amazing to watch. I'm telling you, when you look at the size of the apes, you might think that they are very versatile, like they are very shrewd, but when you find them, they are very gentle animals. The way they are calm, the way they handle their things, are taking care of each other. It is amazing to see that they also have emotions. They love each other, they laugh, they care for each other. And when you see a mother gorilla taking care of its baby, it is very, very beautiful to watch. It touches your heart, and these are scenes that never get off your memories. You need to find time and go for gorilla trekking in Bwindi Impenetrable Forest National Park. And the last one on the list is Mountain Rwenzori. Like I told you, these are things that I'm telling you that you're not going to find in any other country except Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. Now, Mountain Rwenzori is one of those unique mountains that are crossed by the equator, but still are always snow-capped. That is not found anywhere. Actually, in most of, because we are so close to the equator, you think that we cannot have snow-capped mountains in the country, but now Mountain Rwenzori is unique from all other mountains. It is crossed by the equator, but it is always snow-capped. And reaching to the top of Mountain Rwenzori, that is Margarita Peak, it takes about 7 days, depending on how you're physically fit, but it is an amazing experience that you need to have. Even if you can't hike to the top, you can come and hike maybe to the first stop, maybe hike to some of the villages, the local villages on Mountain Rwenzori, like Ruboni for a day, so that you also have that experience that, yes, you tried summiting Margarita Peak on Mountain Rwenzori. So if you are dreaming of your next destination, or you've been thinking of having a trip to Uganda, those are some of the things you should put on your itinerary when you're planning your safari to Uganda. Well, now going into the travel tip today. Today, unlike the other days, it is not a tip that you're going to keep on your fingertips when you're traveling, but it is something that you're going to do so that we push Uganda to the next level as a top tourism destination in Africa. And this is to vote Uganda as the most desirable destination in the world. Now, Uganda was nominated among the Wanderlust Reader Travel Awards as the most desired destination in the world. So it is us to vote. It is us, the Ugandans, to come together and vote. So the link, you're going to find it on the pages of Uganda Tourism Board. You'll find the link there and you vote. Share the link to so many people so that together we push our country. It is ours to push. It is ours to love. It is ours to sell out. That is it that we had for you in the GME Tourism Express today. My name is Irene Alena Misango, and coming up is Joan Paul Sonko with a business update.
Welcome along to our business updates this morning, and thank you for sticking around to UBC. But before that, Alan, you've mentioned something about the Rolex Festival yesterday, and I have just a simple question to put across. I wonder, for those who are attending the Rolex Festival, was it a festival where you pay entrance and you have a free Rolex to enjoy immediately, or you had to pay for every bite you made?
Actually, this is a festival where you pay entrance fees, but you have to buy yourself a Rolex that you need. But how are people benefiting from this? First, there are several vendors that come in. Now imagine a Rolex guy from Nankulabi to bring you to a Rolex festival to sell to masses of numbers. A Rolex that you sell maybe like 2,000 Ugandan shillings, you're selling it 5,000 Ugandan shillings. You get, so there is a big margin, but also the exposure. You get to know that, oh, the normal Rolex that I've been making just from the omelette and the chapati, I can also spice it up, maybe make a vegetable Rolex, make maybe a beef Rolex to spice up your business, and you attract more clients.
Well, and I'm forced to believe that the best Rolex is still the Rolex of just eggs and the chapati with maybe some nyanyambisi. But nonetheless, but nonetheless, you can try others and see. But of course, it does come with a fixed fee. But now that said, as well, from the perspective of the Rolex Festival, not so many of the traders, of the vendors of the Rolex did make profits. Because when you also look at the cost of paying for a stall within the event, it kind of makes it very difficult, more so if at all the turn-up does not reflect entirely. Business is all about profits and losses. If it's quite unfortunate for you, you may pick some losses, but if it's fortunate enough on a good day, chances are high you may make some money. Now, into business this morning, Uganda Bati is still celebrating 6 decades of existence. That is 60 years of existing and serving Ugandans with the quality iron sheets. Now, the government celebrated the strategic contribution of Uganda Bati to the country's economic growth over the last 6 decades as Uganda Bati Limited, which was founded in 1964, has made a name in manufacturing and also impacting lives and the broader economy in relation to the iron sheets and quite a number of other products being manufactured by the company. Now, the State Minister for Trade, David Bahati, who was the chief guest at the celebrations that were held by the company, further upheld the company's import substitution and export promotion levels that they've been doing in the past 6 decades. Now, the development of the country's iron steel industry is among the national planning frameworks that drive Uganda to middle income status that is aimed to be a success by 2040. Now, Uganda is committed further to support value addition to raw materials in order to fetch high value and boost revenue, but to also create employment opportunities for young people, which the Uganda Party is doing tremendously well. Now, as Uganda's industrial sector continues to grow, government is further expected to have a speed up to attain close to 52,000 megawatts by 2040 that will enable the sector to thrive even more. Now, away from that, there's a new report that has revealed that the commercial banking sector has registered growth of close to 4.5 billion Ugandan shillings. Now, this particular report is by the central bank, which has shown that the banking sector registered a growth of 4.57 trillion Ugandan shillings in the year to March 2024. This represents a 9.94% of the growth that is in total assets from 45.92 trillion Ugandan shillings, that is as of March 2023, to 50.48 trillion in March 2024. Now, collectively, and looking at this report, it further indicates that this growth was slightly higher than a 3.5 trillion Ugandan shillings that was registered in a 12-month period that ended in March 2023, that is from 2022. Now, that is an increase. However, the level of intimidation, the level of intermediation slowed as exhibited by a lower growth in total advances of about 1.3 trillion Ugandan shillings, or 6.79% over the period between March 2023 and March 2024. Then the report also notes, adding that the banking sector registered a net profit after tax of 1.5 trillion Ugandan shillings for the year ended December 31st, 2023, up from 1.2 trillion registered in the previous year. Now, from a quarterly perspective, the report further reveals the net profit after tax for the first 3 months to March 31st, 2024 also amounted to 413.16 billion Ugandan shillings compared to 48 billion for a similar period a year earlier, representing a 3.68%. That is for the banking, the commercial banking sector. However, there is still more from the banking sector, because according to the permanent secretary to the treasury, there are more concerns arising from the many of the traders within the country and many of the bankers, because of the fact that most of the commercial banks still charge a lot of interest. The interest rates when it comes to the loans. Now, we close up business this Monday by looking at the forex market. This is courtesy of the central bank, to see how the various currencies were faring on the exchange for those of you who are moving out to the forex bureaus this morning. By closing time over the weekend, the US dollar was buying at 3,718.182 shillings, and then rather 3,718.82 shillings, while selling at 3,728.82 shillings. The Great Britain pound was buying at 4,789.47, while selling at 4,802.3 shillings. The euro was buying at 4,085.12 shillings, while selling was 4,096.11 shillings. The Kenyan shilling was buying at 28.83 shillings, while selling at 28.91 shillings, and the Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.37 shillings while selling at 1.38 shillings. Lastly, the South African rand was buying at 206.79 while selling at 207.34 shillings. That does it for our business outlets this morning. Chantal Oliver Canada is here with the traffic updates. Good morning.
For the traffic updates this morning, my name is Chantal Oliver Kaninda. Let's see how we get you to town on a Monday morning. Do not Mondays usually are mad with a lot of traffic, especially in the mornings and in the evenings. Now, I am at the Tuko roundabout, but just in case the word Tuko sounds new, this is what is usually referred to as the Mulago roundabout. No longer roundabout, as you know if you've used that route, because it is under construction. So let's see how we get you to town this morning. Now, if you are at that very roundabout and you are coming from Chira Road, you'll be meeting a lot of traffic, especially as you are closing into the roundabout. But either way, there is slow movement along Chira Road, some bit of traffic, slow traffic, but after that, you'll be finding no traffic. But if you are coming from Upper Mulago Hill Road, you'll be finding a lot of traffic along the way. Now, this is a lot of traffic through the Upper Mulago Hill Road. Just slow movements and too much traffic inside there. So I highly recommend you avoid using that route. Now, Binaisa Road, if you are exiting the roundabout, trying to join Binaisa Road, you're actually okay. You're safe to move all the way. As you're trying to join Bombo Road, you are safe. However, if you are coming from the further parts of Gayaza Road, there is a lot of traffic, and if you're coming from the further parts of Bombo Road as well, you'll be finding a slow movement, especially along Kavule Road, and bits of traffic in the middle there. But after that, you'll be finding traffic as well as you are closing into the roundabout that has Dwailo Road, or also connects you to continues further onto Binaisa Road. Now, if you are coming to town, coming to Tuko roundabout, you'll be finding a lot of traffic if you are using Binaisa Road. Now, if you are trying to use the Haj Musa Kasule Road to get to town, there is bits and pieces of slow movement, and this is until you get to the lights, or the Wandegea lights, that are mad with a lot of traffic, especially for you who is exiting to continue further onto Bombo Road, or call it continue further into town. But if you are continuing on trying to join Makere Hill Road, you'll be finding traffic, but only if you are coming towards the Wandegea lights. But if you are exiting the Wandegea lights, you'll be finding no traffic whatsoever if you are continuing onto the Makere Hill Road. Now, if you're trying to continue to town, Bombo Road is safe. You have no traffic in there. Queensland also has no traffic. Wandegea Road has no traffic at all. Buganda Road has no traffic. William Street has bits and pieces of traffic in there. But if you are getting to the junction that has Watoto Church downtown, it is where you'll be finding slow movement, but generally there is no traffic in town. Even Kampala Road, slow movement, but the biggest part of it, you'll be okay to make your way to town, as you can see. Speak Road also has a bit of slow movement, but nothing to worry about. Nakasero Road has a bit of traffic, but later on lessons, and you are okay to make your way to town. Tanan Avenue has no traffic. Null Avenue has no traffic, as you can see. You are okay to use some of those routes. Pilkington Road has a bit of slow movement, but nothing much for you to worry about. And that leads us to the end of our traffic updates this morning. I wish you a nice journey as you are making your way to town or to your destination this morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah yo, baby don't know.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000, or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Ajuko.
Yo.
Wachikuwa. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model, PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Ajuko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Coming soon on UBC.
Welcome to Inside Broadcasting.
Sharing with you the process behind what you see on the screens.
My name is Lorraine Masika Kazimoto.
Step behind the scenes and witness the magic that brings your daily broadcasts to life.
That's why I come out openly to actually tell you that I'm an investigative journalist. That even when you see me here, I'm actually investigating you guys. So you should be aware about that.
Experience the hustle, the heart, and the human stories of our on and off-air staff.
I see my phone ringing and I'm like, ooh, which number is this? I hear the president on the other line.
The president of the Republic of Uganda.
Of Uganda, yes.
Be inspired, amazed, and part of the journey that powers Uganda's most captivating TV and radio moments.
Because good broadcast comes down to an individual. They should be artistic.
This is Inside Broadcasting.
Inside Broadcasting.
Inside Broadcasting with Marco Dullo.
Coming soon on UBC.
Nyati Motion Pictures brings you Tuko Pamoja Ankole segment. Learn about the fabrication of Ankole Kingdom from Nkore at the detriment of Mpororo states. What is the glue that holds together peoples of the beautiful village of milk and honey?
Ankole as a kingdom came about in 1901.
Ankole is a colonial fabrication.
And all these so small kingdoms were counties of the original Itara.
Ruhinda Ruanjunachi,
the son of Wamara Rhanja Njojo,
who was a Mtrezi.
There are times when we were Pamoja, the same people.
Tuko Pamoja? Catch this in Ishaka Bushenyi at Berlin Hotel on Saturday, 31st August, and in Barra at Las Vegas Garden Hotel on Sunday, 1st September 2024. To get a ticket, call 0778 787 660.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, it's time for our agenda segment. I'm Olive Monica Najuma, and you are watching Good Morning Uganda. We are coming to you live from Nile Avenue here at Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. Now, there has been talk all across the board regarding the role of the youth in the socio-economic transformation of our country, Uganda. Now, given that the size of the youth in Uganda is bulging. Now, this is according to the census that we had in May this year, and the preliminary results shows that the Uganda's population encompasses about 50% being children under the age of 18. Now, the working population is also around, the working population of Ugandans is also up in the numbers of about 55.6%. This is ages of 14 to 64. Why am I giving you these statistics? I want us to look at the role of the youth in the socio-economic transformation of the country. If we say that 70% of Uganda's population is comprised of the youth, how much are they adding to our country economically? How much are they playing in the field of developing our country? So I won't have this conversation alone because I'm not the expert on this, but I do have two amazing guests that will have us walk through this conversation. And one is Miss Mercy Kanyesije, who is the Secretary Legal Affairs, National Youth Council. Good morning.
Good morning, the moderator. My name is Kanyis Jemasi, Secretary to Legal Affairs National Youth Council. Good morning to our dear viewers also out there.
And the other guest is Mr. Dennis Odwe, who is the Program Manager, AIM, which is under BRAC. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for hosting me and my sister this morning. And good morning to Ugandans who are viewing us. We hope we shall have a good interactions with you during this show.
Well, indeed, we will have an interactive discussion, and probably me and someone else may learn a thing or two. So first of all, when we say socio-economic transformation, I would like to throw this question to both of you, and I'll start with you, Mr. Odwe. What exactly do we mean when we say socio-economic transformation?
In my own understanding, socio-economic transformation means transforming our economy in terms of mindset change, and whereby people are able to acquire certain skills like communication skill, record keeping skill. Those are social skills that someone needs in order to be in position to do something to transform our country. If it is economic skill, it means that you must be engaged in an income generating activity that enables you to contribute to the taxes of this country. For example, you must be running an enterprise. You must be working for government of Uganda. For example, in UBC here, if you have a social skill, it means you are able to relate with the clients that come here.
That's right.
You are able to communicate to them in the right language. You are able to keep records on the businesses that are given to you to manage.
Yes.
So those are things that, for me, in a layman's language, I can treat as a social and economic skill. So economic skill is where you are engaging in something that brings income to your pocket, but also able to provide for the needs of your household members and also contribute to the development of our country in terms of taxation.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, that is my simple definition of socio-economic transformation in terms of skills.
All right, thank you, Mr. Odwe. Now, Mercy, coming back to you, what do you understand by socio-economic transformation in today's context?
Well, thank you so much, and to my brother here. What I understand is about socio-economic is about, most especially young people, to engage in any economic activity that can generate income to our country. For example, participating in agriculture, being innovative, advocating for creating awareness to the public or to the young people about engaging in any economic activities like empowering them. And also socially, I understand it in the context that young people always create platform for working with one another. For example, in sports, young people engage, they socialize, and they pass the information to their colleagues.
Okay, so now that we understand, we have a clear understanding of what socio-economic transformation means, let's delve into our conversation. Now, Mr. Odwe, why is the role of the youth very pivotal or important in the growth of the country?
Thank you very much. When we talk about the role of the young people, our country is among the countries in the world with the youngest population. And it means that if you have a young population, you must have a productive population.
Yes.
And if they're productive, then it means that they are able to contribute to, one, the creation of jobs that we need in this country to employ other young people.
Yes.
But also we know that if they are productive and they have the right skill, they are able to contribute to working. They are able to work in the different entities that employ Ugandans, the private sector, the NGO sector, the public sector, and they are able to contribute to the taxes of this country. But if they are not working and they are not contributing meaningfully to the development of our country, then we treat such young people as a liability to the nation because they are not now treated as assets that can help us to generate income to transform our economy. And I think this is why the government of Uganda has been is struggling so much to make sure that we make our young people very productive.
Yes.
We must make sure that we have what we call the presidential skilling program for the young people, for example, in Kampala, that are not redundant, but are busy doing something that can enable them contribute to our country. Even at BRAC level, we also are doing the same, skilling our young people to make sure that they are productive, giving them skills like financial literacy skills, training them on technical vocational skills like tailoring, garment cutting, things around farming skill, So these are some of the skills that we have been providing, and we are still continuing to provide to make sure that our young people are really an asset to the nation, but not a liability to the nation.
Not a liability. I like that, because it's a thin line between being an asset and being a liability. Now let's talk education, Mercy. I like having this conversation with you, first of all, because you are obviously very youthful. You're still a youth, so the conversation is close to home. But let's talk about education. Do you think that our current education system has equipped the youth for for economic participation and the transformation of our country?
Yes, I must say it is really contributing to the socio-economic transformation.
How much of this contribution are we looking at? Because there is a contribution of, okay, yes, you're educated, you can speak English, but are we being given the skills that would enable us to participate favorably in economic transformation?
Yes, of course, based on a new curriculum. Well, most of schools, okay, like in our year, like the years before, they have brought this curriculum, I think 2 years back. That's when they have brought this new curriculum about equipping young people with skills or teaching them about, practical things. But also, I'll speak in the context of the skilling centers that we have. The government has been prioritizing the skilling the young people in this country. And as we talk now, the presidential skilling centers in this country, they are all over in the country. We have skilling centers in Mbarara, Greater Masaka, Mbale. All these skills, there are actually 19 in the sub-regions of this country. These skilling centers, they provide the skilling for the young people who do not have, who didn't go to school, and they come from the humble background. So when they go to those skilling centers, they are able to acquire skill, may it be hairdressing, there is carpentry, there is hairdressing, there are a lot of things that they do. So at the end of the day, you find that this young person who who didn't go to school has that skill, you understand? So in my own analysis, apparently we are doing great, and the government is continuing to construct more vocational schools, and I know in the few years to come we shall be doing better.
All right, thank you, Mercy. Mr. Odoi, still on the issue of education. Now, Mercy has brought in the factor of the skilling centers that we have in the country. And according to our explanation, these are mainly helping those that were not able to go through school to completion. So I recognize that. But I still believe, like many Ugandans, that there could be some gaps. I don't know if you're with me on that line, but if you are, what are some of the gaps in our education system that are hindering the youth from economically participating favorably?
Yeah, thank you. I should thank government of Uganda for first and foremost making sure that there are UP schools in this country, there are secondary schools in this country, and there are vocational training centers in this country. So that is one way that government has put initiatives to make sure that the young people are skilled, are given the right skill for the skill that the market needs. However, the question of access is still a big challenge. And the question of quality of the training is still an issue that we need to deal with as a nation. If you talk of skilling our young people for employability, we still have our young people having what we call theoretical skill, other than the practical skill that the market needs. And yet this is the market, these are the skills that the market needs to make sure that they thrive.
Yes.
For example, communication skill. Many of our young people still lack that communication skill. The customer relation skill is still a problem. And that's why we are saying if you employ a Ugandan in your business and you bring in a Kenyan who also has a business next to your business, the Kenyan business will thrive more than the Ugandan business.
What is the Kenyan doing right that the Ugandan is not?
Train their students with what we call soft skills that the market needs for them to be in position to thrive.
Yes.
But for us, we are more theoretical in the way we are rendering our training.
Now, given how the world is evolving and where things are going to, what are some of these soft skills again that we probably need to embrace so that when we churn out our graduates into the job market? Because I remember a conversation I had with you pre the show, you did say that some of our students or our graduates are not employable. What's lacking in our graduates? What are we not doing right?
Good. So when you look at the students that get out of our universities, for example, when you talk about record keeping,
yes,
and they're running an enterprise, they have a very big challenge there. And that means they have to go through what we call internship in order for them to acquire some of these market-related skills. Yes. And that internship has to take long. Some of them may need to do things like volunteering for say 2 or 3 years for them to acquire such skills, and you are able to employ them. They still have, they lack entrepreneurship skill, business management skill. It's still a big problem from these young people. And that's why you find that much as we have the innovation fund in the country, very few are able to access those innovation funds because the skill they have is limited. They also lack the skills like technological skill.
Yes.
And when you're talking about the Uganda today or the world today, we are moving digital.
That's right.
So the digital skill that our young people have is not good enough for them to be in position to contribute to the transformation of our country.
Interesting, because one would think that since today many of us always have a screen in our faces, many of us are using phones and whatnot, and then I hear people, someone like you who works with the youth, saying that many of them don't have technological skills. Does that mean that they just use the phones to watch videos on TikTok and, you know, make fun, but they're not really using the phones to enrich themselves?
Yeah, that is true. They're not using the gadgets for something which is meaningful. They are watching movies.
Yes.
Like if you gave a young person to use a phone to do, let's say, survey, they cannot do it well. If you told them download an app, upload it, and use it to conduct a survey. They cannot do it. And that means there is a technical skill which is missing in them.
Okay.
And that means we need to do more of the practical training than the theoretical training. I'm struggling with it, by the way. This is a practical thing I'm talking about in my workplace.
Yes.
The skill that the young people we are employing have is very limited. We have to spend like 3 years for them to catch up.
And that's 3 years too long.
And that means we need to do a lot of work as employers of this country to make sure that at least we create a room for internship, a room for volunteerism, whereby young people just work to learn. I remember the government of Uganda said people would be taken for 1 year or 2 years to just do what we call national year of service, where you just volunteer and learn, then you can be employed into the employment world.
I know
countries.
I know where countries where that is done. In Nigeria, for example, you cannot join the job market unless you have done national service. So after university, you go do national service for a year, and then you can now be into the job market. And the results show themselves, right? We know how aggressive and result-oriented Nigerians are when it comes to the job market.
Yeah.
So still, before I go back to Mercy, there is you did touch on vocational training, and I'm wondering how can we best improve it in order to better prepare our youth for the job market, for economic transformation?
Yeah, when we look at the vocational training centers in our country, by policy, the BTVET Act of 2008 committed the government that they would establish what we call vocational training centers in most of the parts of our country. But you find that at a sub-county level, the question of access is still a problem. And these are young people who are from very poor and vulnerable households that cannot move from, let's say, from Masaka town to go to the rural community.
Yes.
And that means they need to have a sub-county based vocational training center. But also the equipping of these vocational centers with the right tools and equipment is still a big challenge.
Okay.
Most of them don't have the right tools to equip young people with the right skill for the market. And that is where we are struggling. And when you look at the way we are investing at country level in terms of financing for vocational training, out of the Ministry of Education budget that you know of,
yes,
we are only receiving 4% of that budget of over 2 trillion Uganda shilling that goes into the education sector.
And yet we are looking at a country that has 70% youth. Yes.
And when you look at the white collar jobs in this country, very few employers in the white collar employment are able to consume our young people. It is the blue collar jobs that is a magic bullet for making sure that the youth that are not productive will be productive. And when you want to talk about the Bill Gates of this world, it is the blue-collar jobs that our young people are abandoning that should be in position to take them to that level. And for me, I think that is where our government should invest its resources. I would love to see much of our investment going into skilling of the young people. Germany has done it. We are talking about German cars. Where do these cars come from? It is
they
from
are made
Germany.
By the youth from
Most of us
Germany.
admire BMW,
yes,
we admire Mercedes-Benz,
yes,
Volkswagen.
Yes.
All these are made by the young people who are skilled.
In those countries.
The watch that I'm wearing is made by the young people in China.
Yes.
And this is where we should be investing. Soft skill that the young people need to create certain jobs and also transform our country.
Well, this is an enlightening conversation. Now, you can be part of this conversation by joining us through WhatsApp number 0709-602-592. If you have any question or an input regarding on the role of the youth in the socio-economic transformation of our country, would like to hear from you. I'm having this conversation with Mr. Dennis Odwe, who is the programs manager, AIM, which is under BRAC, but also Mercy Kanyesije, who is the Secretary Legal Affairs at National Youth Council. And together we are trying to decipher how the youth can basically contribute to the economic basket of our country. Now, Mercy, many things are said about Uganda's youth, but I don't believe that all is lost and that many of them are so bad. I believe that universities are also churning out brilliant students, brilliant young men and women that have the zeal and the thirst to work and add to the country's growth. But what are some of the challenges our youth are facing when they get out of university to join the job market?
Thank you so much. The challenges that young people are really facing, they are quite very many. And to start with the most important thing, we talked about that young people, they do lack skill. Actually, he exhausted it about that issue, but also it's an issue of the startup. Realize that young people, we are the majority, and the white collar jobs are very limited. You understand? Even that person who is going to give it to you, you must be having that connection, the gambano, we understand. But the challenge,
and also the experience.
Exactly. But the most challenge that young people are facing, because it is about the issue of startup capital. You find someone is really that person has a skill and is willing to work and very by the committed, but he just did a startup capital. You understand? But they fail to get that startup capital. At the end of the day, find someone is not working.
That's right.
You get. Also, another challenge that these young people face is about the public lack trust in young people.
And why is that? Mr. Odre did mention that the youth sometimes are unemployable. Now, if you're saying that the public lacks trust when it comes to our youth, the biggest elephant in the room is why? Why don't...
I can actually chip there. You know, our young people today, they don't have the right attitude to work. Even if the work is there, the attitude they have towards work in terms of timekeeping at workplace is a big problem. You give them the responsibility to undertake and give you a deliverable. They will not. They want you to push them. They are not self-driven. And that's why most employers don't have trust in them. And that means if we are to make the public or the employers have trust in our young people, we must invest in mindset change. We must change their attitude towards work. They must know that if I'm given a job, it is my bread and butter. I shouldn't be pushed to write the report on time, to come to office on time, to communicate well to our customers, you know.
To smile.
To smile to a customer. You come to a business run by a young person and you are greeting good morning. The person doesn't want to respond to you. You're asking for some support. They are not giving you attention. Do you expect a customer to come to that service center?
I'll let Mercy answer that question.
So in terms of what we are doing as BRAC, we are trying to change those mindsets. We are providing them with life skills training. And we're making sure that the young people are trained on customer care. They are trained on financial management skill. They are trained on entrepreneurship skills, so that the kind of young people or the young women and girls that we are releasing outside there are people of quality. People that when you want to employ, they are of quality. If they come to the bank and they want credit to run their businesses, they will definitely get it.
They're trusted.
And when you give them that credit, they will manage that credit because they know it is their life and their soul.
Well, Mercy, Mr. Odre chipped in as we're still speaking, but do you agree or disagree with him to a certain extent?
Well, I really agree with him to a certain extent that young people sometimes we lack that customer care, that we don't keep time, all those issues.
Attitude towards
work, that we don't mind. We take things sometimes for granted.
Okay.
But to some big extent, young people, I feel like they are misjudged. You find someone has that bad negative attitude towards a young person because the other person did okay, he didn't do the work very well, he thinks that this person is also going to do the same, which is very wrong. By the way, we have young people who are very committed, very hardworking, and they can deliver in time. We have those serious. So my point here is that if someone is to employ, they should not judge young people according to the person who worked for them, who wronged them. They should always give a young person a chance. At the end of the day, they will be developing them and their country.
So basically, people should stop making some young people pay for the sins of other young people that never delivered. But you know, that is a very dangerous, okay, I shouldn't say dangerous, but you know how that line is a bit not in the favor of young people, because in Uganda there is a saying which says that where the many point, there is a problem. So if many, I've had conversations with employers and they normally say young people don't want to work. So I'll ask, as someone that works with the youth and as a young person yourself, what are some of the initiatives that you've taken to change the mindsets of young people when it comes to work, when it comes to attitude, when it comes to entrepreneurship?
Oh yes. Thank you so much. The National Youth Council, based on our mandate, as National Youth Council, as one of our mandate is to sensitize young people or to create awareness about the government program, to let them know what the government have for them, and we sensitize it to the grassroots, because we have the structures from the national level to the district, to the sub-county, to the parish, up to the village. That means we can even reach out to that last person. And one of the things that we really advocated for, it was about the parish development model. Initially, yes, it's a government program, but initially they had not put the percentage for the young people. And we realized that there is a challenge where that young people are always manipulated in such programs. If you generalize them to be with the women and men and old women, at the end of the day, this young person will not be given an opportunity to say anything. We said, let's advocate the percentage for the young people. And I thank my colleagues, we managed to achieve the 20% for the young people. That in every parish, the government, every parish on the PDM, a young person has their own percentage. And we also, in regard to that, you know, there is a pillar of mindset change. We try to sensitize young people, and we are still doing it to change their mindset. Well, you're educated, you are from the university, you are from anywhere you're coming from, still you can do agriculture and prosper.
That's
and
right.
create employment to your fellow youth, and, you know, develop the community and the entire country at large. So we are trying to tell them that agriculture, it's not for dirty people. Actually, you can do better in agriculture if you're not doing well, you know, in other fields. But agriculture, you can do it. Me, personally, I'm a lawyer by profession, but I can tell you that I have goat farming. That was not because on my own initiative, but it was about the government program about mindset change. Change my mindset that instead of coming here in Kampala, fighting for clients, taking this, no, let me take my time. I can generate my money from other different, you know,
ventures.
Business ventures, you understand. So I'm doing well in that as I pursue my legal activity or my profession.
I like the sound of that because for some reason, I don't know who told us, but for some reason we believe that because you sat in that class at university, never mind that some people even dodge the classes. But anyway, it's for some reason people believe that because you have that degree, then there are certain things you cannot do. But when you look at the richest people in this country, they're not people who sit in certain air-conditioned offices. These are people in Chikubo. These are young men and women who do, for lack of a better word, kuyiriba. Eh? You want a pair of shoes, he doesn't have it, and he's like, Madam, you said which size? Sit here, let me bring it. So for you don't know that he doesn't have it. He goes, takes a few minutes, he brings you the shoes. And at the end of the day, probably the price you're buying at is even more because he has to get his cut. But eventually, when you listen to stories of successful people, these are usually the people that eventually make it. And Mr. Odwe, when we talk about initiatives that are helping the youth in entrepreneurship, and even you, Mercy, what would you say are some that you have seen even away from where you work, from BRAC, from the National Youth Council, that you've seen as initiatives that have actually helped young people to make money, even if they are well educated, but they didn't get the other jobs? It could be in technology, it could be in agriculture, any sector. What have you seen as an initiative that has come out and it is now employing hundreds of thousands of young people in the country?
Maybe let me go first. In regard to that, still I'll go back to National Youth Council. One of the ways that we do it, we always do monitoring. So we reach out to different youth groups that are really doing well and those ones that have challenges, and we see how best we can help them. But there are those ones who have really registered success. For example, it is about, for example, there is a youth group is called Kamvu Environmental Group. It's a group that makes charcoal out from recycling the bottles, banana peels and cassava, and they make
so they make briquettes.
Yes.
Okay.
And they serve to homesteads and small restaurants. So in that regard, in that line, they are developing, they are employing their fellow youth because they can't do it alone. They are developing their community. Not only the young people benefit, there are those people that they work with that are not only the young people. So you find at the end of the day, this person is employing over 50 people in that community. But also, there are very many youth groups that are really doing great. For example, in agriculture, there's a youth person that I know in Ruel that deals in watermelon. That person earns 5 million every month, and it is just a startup. You understand? So young people, they are doing very well in agriculture that I have visited. They are doing well. Then we have those ones in technology. Some of them are actually doing great. We also have the young people who are benefited from the YLP, the Youth Livelihood Program that is under Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. The young people who invested in restaurants, they are making money. They are employing their community. They are employing the people around them. So I must say that we have really registered successes in that.
Okay, thank you, Mercy. And Mr. Odwe, yes.
What I know, especially where I work in BRAC, under the MasterCard Foundation program, and also other development partners like ILO, International Labour Organization, and others that are funding our work, we have been in position to support young people outside there to start their own businesses. We have given them small credit, like $200 to run a small business. And as I speak now, in both humanitarian setting in Arua, in western part of Uganda, we have a couple of both the host communities and the refugees engaging in income generating activities. Under the AIM program that I spearhead, you find that we graduated around 1,220 young women and girls with vocational skill, and we gave them startup kits. And these young people are now employing themselves, but also employing other people in the different parts of the country. And this is an initiative that works because the young people get skill, but they lack access to startup kits. And with BRAC for us, we are saying, we will not give you fish, but we will not give you fish, but we'll give you a net that will help you to start catching fish. So we have given them the knowledge and we have given them the startup kits.
Yes.
And it is helping. Under our financial inclusion program, we are also giving them credit and linking them to the bank so that they can have more money, so that they can run their own initiatives. You find that we have formed VSLA groups. The young people are learning to save. We are training them how to manage their money. and how to manage their enterprises.
Financial literacy.
Financial literacy.
Yes.
And you find that this is working. And the young people are able to appreciate the power of working in a group, save, invest, and become a boss of your own. And as I speak, we have a target of reaching over 22,250 young people in this country in the next 5 years under the program that I manage as AIM, to make sure that we are able to reach out to young people with those skills. Even other programs that BRAC implements, we are targeting young women and girls. You know, BRAC mainly targets young women and girls to make sure that we economically empower them and also contribute to the government initiative in economic empowerment of women.
Okay, so thank you so much for that comment. And I think that both at the National Youth Council and at BRAC, you're doing amazing things to enable the youth to play a pivotal role in the economic transformation of our country. Now, I have some comments coming through, and this is from Nathan from Namasuba. He says the youth play a vital role in shaping social and economic progress by bringing fresh perspectives and energy to community development. And Bahitia Rogers in Kasese says, the challenge is, one, corruption that has limited the youth to attain access, basically has limited the youth's access to jobs and livelihoods. He says this aspect has called corruption has made most of the educated youth fail to access jobs in some areas. And then he says equality and representation for the youth in Uganda is left behind in the involvement of decision-making processes. If you address some of these events constituting new stages in changing situations, we will have more advances in economics in Uganda. That is Bahita Rogers from Kasese. And I have one coming through. He says, our system needs... he says our system needs paper and it doesn't need skills. I'm not so sure what you mean here, but let me continue. He says systems made young people lazy by making them loving free things. Try to visit training institutions and do the assessment. Mindset of young people needs to be changed to love work, and the work should be according to a certain standard. Curriculum is perfect, but implementation is an issue. I think here he's referring to the new curriculum. And then he says training without ICT skills is more of a theoretical venture. He says give toolkits to the youth. Many may not, giving toolkits to the youth may not help much, but youth should be put in groups and attach them to skilled people for the start. And TK Boss from Iganga district says, good morning to you. It's very great pleasure to meet you. He says there is a big gap between our elders and the youth and even the tendencies of connection, but on the attitude of time, it's not to every youth just because they do not judge youth even before giving them a chance for the job. Anyway, I'll paraphrase. He is reverting to what you said, and he's saying that the question of timekeeping is not for every youth, but they are being misjudged basing on others, like Mercy said. Well, our time is fast spent, but this has been quite an enlightening conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Audrey, for your input.
Thank you.
And thank you, Mercy, for giving us your time and explaining the other side of what the youth go through, because, yeah, like you said, sometimes they are being misjudged. Well, thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Uganda. We have been having quite an enjoyable conversation and also enlightening conversation regarding the role of the youth in the economic socio-economic transformation of Uganda. Now, if you missed where the conversation started from, the beauty is that we stream live on YouTube, so you can go back and watch the conversation from where it started. My name is Olive Monica Najuma, and right up next is Ruben Pima with the sports updates. Stay tuned.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.